Sorry. Call the tax committee meeting to order, January 3rd, 9 a.m. All members present, except Mr. Sticknot, who I'm filling in for this morning. First item on the agenda is to audit the claims. The claims are on a 5-page stapled sheet. Take a moment to review those.
Troy, on page 7, I have a question. Was it the animal, is that the amount owed to us from Waseca? Is that the 1640?
No, that is the amount we pay to Waseca Animal. So that number should match the report.
Yeah, today.
Could you explain the, on page 4, where it says GIS parcel map maintenance for 2,400, what is that?
There's two of them. There's your 2,400 on top and the 11,614 on the bottom.
11,001 is our monthly contract agreement price for the development of the GIS, and that payment will end in March of 18. And then the month that 2,400 is just we have, when deeds come through and we process splits and that kind of information, property changes hands, and then we send it up to the mapping company and they do that, and that's their monthly.
Maybe we should back up a little bit and go over the whole, to people new on the board. So the GIS mapping, we were one of the last counties to do this.
Right.
But they fly the county, they take aerial photographs of the entire, every square inch of the county, and that's used for property boundaries, mostly through Bob's, but then you can sell layers of that off to
The county, usually the county's got all of that information as far as the basic, who the ownership is and what the parcel ID number is, which basically is the legal identification number. And then other entities will use, and will develop the base map, and that's what Ms. Harris did. And then you put layers on it. Right now, the only layers on it are the soil map, the land use map, and the flood map. and that's all would be relevant for me. But eventually, I would assume the city of Watsiko will want to develop their own layers for various reasons, for their sewer lines, their water lines, all their utilities, that kind of thing. And they would have access to our base map, but not any of our other layers. And they could add to it as they see fit. And then we would have to decide if that's something we wanted to charge them a yearly fee to access that base map or not. Because we'll be maintaining that as these come through. Ownership changes, parcels get split off. And you buy an 80 out of 160, so you get what's called a split. And then we got two different owners. We maintain that information. And so, then we are going to a web-based system. We're trying to slow down foot traffic and phone traffic into everybody's office eventually. That's the goal. And then people will be able to have access to this at home, but via the web. And it'll be pretty much up to date, pretty current. And they'll access that. And then as we add more information, then we can decide what people can see and what they can't see going forward and that kind of thing. So eventually people will be able to look online and see what their tax dollars are rather than calling us or Mindy. So it's slows down and it's used for all kinds of different things like leaflet input on it, for precinct boundaries and stuff. So the state's always wanting GIS data, they don't want paperbacks.
A private individual could even make up some type of thing they wanted and
Correct.
pay to use it. And then just for the record, we also, when we did that, we opted for the higher resolution, and then we saved a little by waiting until somebody else flew, fly ours at the same time, so we did some due diligence there.
Well, thank you for explaining that.
But no, it is a big bill every month.
But as of now, we don't charge for anyone to use that base map, correct?
Nobody's using it as, it's not available yet. It should be probably within a month. I would probably put it out there online. But then we'll have to coordinate with Bruce Harris and DevNet, because we'll have to, we'll have to do links on the, whether we put the link on our current webpage or if we, use the GIS as the main web source and link to everything else. We just have to get with them and decide how we want to do it, because some of this has to be coordinated through DevNet, and then also some of it has to be coordinated through Bruce Harris. DevNet is our tax cycle software company, and Bruce Harris is our mapping company. But they work together in other counties. They know each other very well. In fact, if you look at their employee rosters, a lot of them and work for both entities over the years. So,
Okay, thank you.
So if it were private, wouldn't we receive a fee and then they would work directly with Bruce Harris probably? If
Well,
there's
that's-
some entity that,
I mean, if somebody calls for our GIS data, which happens pretty much every day now, and we refer them to Bruce Harris, and Bruce Harris, with my permission, can release that data, because technically it's public record. But they charge a nominal fee for their profit, their labor cost to do it. And
so like if the city of Watsiko wanted to put all their septic or sewer on there or something,
they would probably have their engineering company.
and they'd have their own
layer,
link.
and they'd have their own link, and something you probably wouldn't be able to see.
So even after, I'm not trying to make this difficult, even after what Seeker or whoever would happen to add to it, we're still accessible to it? We can still access what they add to it?
No, probably not, unless they let you. I mean, everything basically would be view only for anybody, no matter who, if you're a private individual or a company or a village. And we can determine what we want to allow people to see and what we don't allow them to see. Now, if the city of Watsiko uses our base map, and then they develop a sewer layer, they don't have, they do that privately, and they'll work directly with Bruce Harris to develop that layer. And if they allow us to see it, they will. If they don't, we won't be able to see it. And I don't see any reason why I'd want to see it, personally.
That was gonna be my next question. Is there a reason for us to see it, I guess? No. Okay.
Unless you're doing a project with the city and they want you to see it.
Okay.
I mean, the whole reasoning behind that is we have the pictures, basically.
Right. We need that for the base map, and that's the most important thing.
Any other questions on the claims? I would entertain a motion to approve. Send on to the county board. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any just further discussion? Let's take a roll call.
Crumity,
Yes.
Popenauer,
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes.
Awful.
Yes.
Persley.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes. Motion carries. Are there any public comments? Next item, discussion points from the committee members. None. Reports from the departments. Let's start with Bob on that. And he's got-
Just some general information. My chief deputy, Ted Shepard, retired at the end of the year after 29 years of service. The last day was Friday. Louis Bruins, who's been in the office over 25 years, from the union position to my chief deputy's position. And then we hired a clerk to come in, and she starts today. Her name is Danielle Goldman. So we're back with a full staff with a lot less experience. Because I had a retirement during the year. And so that's generally what the office is in right now. Timing the tax cycle, order review, complaint time is over. We're now processing the order review and doing our tentative decisions. Those are going well. Overall complaints are down from past years. We did get one property owner who had a complaint for over $100,000 reduction in assessed valuation. The notices have gone out to the taxing bodies by statute for that. And Kyle Anderson gets ours as chief chairman of the finance committee. The Donovan Co-op elevator, we've got the large reduction complaint in. So I will be making a recommendation Thursday for finance on, what we should or shouldn't do. When somebody complains, once reduction of that amount, taxing bodies have the right to fight that reduction, or work out a compromise with the property owners. And so typically in the past, if taxing bodies want to fight that wholly, and not any reduction, the cost and expense to fight that is there on that. But sometimes when it gets involved with these more complex properties, you're looking at appraisals or private appraisals, and that kind of thing, and they can get rather expensive. I don't have it in my budget to pay $5,000 to have a commercial appraisal done. So it's usually in the best interest to figure out a compromise at some time. And that's what we've done in the past. And it's worked out pretty well for everybody involved. So right now.
Thank you, Bob. Lisa?
The filing period is over for the April consolidated election. Now the clerks and secretaries of the units of government will be certifying the results of their filing to us, and we'll start setting up a ballot. All the levies are in, all of them were in on time, which was last Tuesday in December. One school does have to file an amended levy. They had a mistake in their calculations, and that's not a problem. And then today, we'll send out approximately 170 letters. Those go out to all the secretaries and clerks of all the units of government and the taxing bodies, and that's to request their list of people who are required to file the fund statement of economic statement that everybody loves. So that's what we're working on right now.
Animal control.
So we, December, we got like 2 dog fights, 3 cat fights, we didn't protect any that who is away, and we got a 6 dogs, and we were like fine. The last couple of weeks we were so busy, we prepared the tags and registration to 2017. We already distributed them around the veterinarians in the area, the vet clinic, and we are in the process of collecting the old ones, 2016, from them by next week. We still, struggling a little bit with the new system. We have some correction from the old one, so it may take another month or so to do that. Vet is working hard for that. And due to unfortunate communication between animal control people, we missed collecting some of the invoices from the villages. We sent them letters, and I'm calling them today. Unfortunately, this is happening the 31st of December. So yesterday everything was closed, so I'm calling them today so we can get more money back.
So is that missed or just late?
Miscommunication.
No, the invoices, we're still invoicing.
Yeah, we have the invoices, yeah. We didn't change the villages and cities. So everybody was assuming that it's the job of the other guy. And you have like a new secretary, she didn't get like enough training. So, I mean, the old one didn't tell her that she's the one that sent the invoice to the village. She assumed that animal officer is the one supposed to send that. So, but we will avoid this next time, I promise. But I'm working on making the money from there.
Troy,
So,
the amount is 6 villages for $912, so it's certainly not material to anything. It's a small amount, and it is taken care of.
so I guess my one comment I'd like to make is a question to the committee. Even back to when animal control went away from Mindy and or Dr. Youssef came on board, I'm not sure of the timing of all that, but have we even updated the policy and procedure book to reflect on what needs to happen? I mean, let's say this whole room vanished tomorrow, we had a whole new staff, how would they know how to run animal control? So I doubt if it's been documented or the protocol's been established.
We have a job description, and we updated like a month ago. So after the board members, I think, had a meeting, and we updated the job description, and I have you. And I give a copy of the job description, my job description as a director of animal control to Mr. Martin yesterday.
And that would be good to put in the policy and procedure, but the actual, what happens from the time someone registers an animal to pick up the animal control, all that has to be documented somehow.
Right. And we have, are you talking about, each case meeting?
No, I'm
in
talking
general?
about how the whole process works. So if we were all eliminated tomorrow, and a whole new staff was put in here, would they be able to do animal control?
It should be included in the job description, but what my job has to do.
But yeah, that's one part, but what about from the county side? Like, Anita, do you know if it's been in the manual at all?
Well, we don't have one centralized manual for every department. Each department is responsible for documenting their own processes and procedures. I do know that Beth has talked to me about looking through her notes and what she has documented in terms of what she has to do. So I think she's got something unofficially in her office, or I know she does because she's referenced going through, especially with this kind of mix-up here. She went through all her notes and her documentation. I'm not sure that there's anything official in terms of a procedure manual in that office.
I mean, I'll leave that up to the committee and to decide, or Marvin, but
So I just want to say that the transition between Kelsey, so we hired Kelsey at the beginning of the year, and then she resigned after I think 5 to 6 months, and then this took over. The time of training between the transition period was very limited, very small time. and the job is overwhelming. It's a lot of cases, the new system. We had unfortunately inherited that bad data from the old system to the new
Right.
system, and that's why it's a very exhausting, time consuming to correct all of that.
So speaking of that, how much of that is left, the
So,
conversion?
as far as I talked to Beth last I think it was a couple of weeks ago, she said she needs like another month. Like by the end of January, hopefully, she will finish correcting.
Because our goal is the end of the year, right?
Right,
That's
right.
it.
We didn't quite meet that, but see, the issue is the support contract on that old system. What we're doing is taking all the old history from the old system that didn't come over in conversion. It didn't convert well because the old system was just a flat file. And so it didn't convert easily. It would take for every dog the first record of the line, where the first record may be a 3-year-old pig. So she's had to manually go back and kind of recreate all that. Mary Ann's helped her do that. But once that ends, we've got a timetable of the end of January with the support contract of the old software coming off. So she's going to make it so that we can let that old support contract go because all the information will be in the new system. So we're getting there.
And I meet with my staff every week, every Friday, the animal officer with them, and we keep talking about how we manage it. And sometimes we got the new registration 2017, 6,000 registrations, 6,000 tags and links. And we have to sit down and put everything together, match the number, match everything. So we're supposed to work as a team. But unfortunately, sometimes, like I said, because of that new system, and she's still new, that's what happened, unfortunately. The miscommunication happened. We need to take care of that next time. Or this time.
How does it work, I mean, from an audit perspective and all those kind of things, as far as having key processes documented, and, I mean, is there any guidance from?
No. We haven't ever gotten, they asked, of course, in our internal control surveys, what processes we have, and all I respond in the survey is that each department is responsible for their own processes and procedures. They test several of our key processes and checklists and go through, that's part of the audit they do. They do an internal controls audit section in December, and they'll pick key processes and step through them, but that's, I don't know, I don't think they do that in other departments, I'm not sure.
Because I think that's what Troy's point is that if everybody got hit by a train tomorrow,
Right.
how do we know what we're doing?
But
So-
I just want to mention one thing, when I took over animal control, I didn't have I heard nothing. It's just you throw somebody that doesn't want to swim in the ocean. And it started from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I'm trying my best to put a good foundation to the department so we can go, if anybody took over from me, he can do what he can.
Yeah.
So I have fired, and I wish anybody from the board members, I think Mr. Troy or some of the board members came to the facility and see the fires, put the fires together. We didn't have this before.
Sure.
But the dog fights, bad cases, we have everything that's computerized, everything in the computer. I agree with you 100% that we have to put manual, steps. And hopefully when we finish with all of these data, all of these things, we can have time to sit down together and then look things together, 1, 2, 3, 4, so everybody can know what we have to do.
And a little history for the newer board members. So this animal control used to run out of the treasurer's office, and it was handled by Doc Fennell for quite a few years. Kind of ran on autopilot, wouldn't you say, Mindy? And so we knew this was coming. So it had to become a little more official, and then there's all these other issues that are a little more complicated. Bites are becoming, we have to deal with those through the health department.
They're reportable by law.
Yeah, that wasn't as stringent as 10 years ago as it is now. And that goes for cats too.
Cat bites are not. Okay, so the law for the health department is any animal bite that the animal bite could lead to a disease on the Illinois reportable disease list. Has to be reported within 24 hours. So, we would only investigate if there's human exposure. So any kind of dog bite that gets reported to animal control does not necessarily come to the health department. The only ones that come to the health department are human exposure. I mean, we get phone calls all the time. People say, you know, our dog got in a fight with the neighbor's dog and whatever. We don't handle that kind of stuff. That's all handled through animal control. We are only investigate a case if there's human exposure. And so for each different
Who
animal,
reports that to you?
what?
Who reports the human
Animal
exposure?
control.
They report that to you.
And that process has really cleaned up over the last 6 months. Because there were some problems with that as well. They were assuming that if somebody went to the emergency room, because the emergency room has to notify us, and there's a special form that the emergency room sends us. Animal control assumed that we always got those. Well, sometimes we didn't get them. So if we weren't aware that someone was bitten, obviously there wasn't an investigation done, and that happened several times, and we actually got called out on that a few times. Well, you can only investigate something that you're made aware of. So we requested that animal control notify us whether or not they were seen at a physician's office, at a hospital, at a clinic, or whether animal control just was aware of the bite. So every time that there's an animal bite that involves a human exposure, animal control notifies our health department. And they do that within 24 hours now. And then we have different procedures according to the Illinois Department of Public Health regulations, depending on what animal it is. So, for example, if it's a dog, the person actually has to be bitten, not scratched or whatever. But if it's a bat, the person, human exposure for a bat is if the person is bitten by the bat, if the person is sleeping in a room where the bat was found. So like if the bat is found in the living room and somebody sleeps in their living room, then that is an official investigation. Or anyone who's handled the bat and come into contact with that saliva without proper protective equipment. So human exposure for different animals is different. So we track that and we do those investigations according to state guidelines, and we stay in contact with Dr. Yusuf, and then if an animal specimen needs to go to the state lab, then Dr. Yusuf collects that usually and sends that off to the state lab, and then we're the ones that are notified of the results, usually even before he gets them. We're notified usually as soon as the testing is done. And then we communicate that, we make sure we communicate that with him, and then usually within 12 hours, 12 to 24 hours, he gets an official report, we get an official report, but a lot of times they call us. I've never known the state not to call us if a bat was tested and it's positive for rabies, which happens. We have positive bats in Iroquois County. So they almost always call us on the phone. And if it's a weekend, an evening, a holiday, the IDPH duty officer will notify me.
So I want to just add one more thing, so I'm not saying the show up, but me and he have very sensitive job actually, because we have to be aware about what's going on. And I want to tell you that Kentucky, Champaign offices of the animal control, they close at 6 o'clock. We are 24 hours a day. I handle cases 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, because of sensitive cases, such as when a vet said a cat bit one of my nurses, we put her in the clinic to watch the cat, and then one of the nurses checking the cat, they start to see the cat start to have neurological signs, seizure, tremors, which you can fit with the rabies sign. So this is the time they call me, and I have to respond. I cannot ignore the phone call like this. And then the first thing in the morning, I euthanize the cat and send it to the lab, and it came back negative. But what I'm saying is, we had a lot of good relations to me, and I'm sending reports back and forth. Sometimes, we have miscommunication, and she called me, she said, let's sit down, and which I appreciate this type of cooperation and help. It's not like fighting, it's like working together. So she can call me anytime, we sit down together, let's put this rule 1, 2, 3, and let me, I got like something from the health department, I made a copy for you, please show this to the owner officer. So that's why I think we're very strong in this matter.
Much improved.
So it rolls up under tax committee. And that's probably because it came up through the treasurer's office. So,
under judicial.
but the whole, concept is the taxpayers, the revenue comes in from the tags, and then it's our job to manage everything underneath with that money.
And this is one last thing, for the new system, I keep following up with Champaign and Kankakee counties because they are our role model. So they have been using the system for more than 10 years now. And they said you're going to see problems for the first couple of years, 3 years even, because it's a new system and a lot of things can happen in the way. So, but like I said, I'm just full aware about what's going to happen or what may happen, and then I call them to consult or I try to solve it on my own, but we expecting to see some type of problems from now and then for the next, I don't know, a year or so. Yeah. So
Understandable.
be patient with us.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions for Dr. Houston? Next item of business is old business. Old business to come before the committee. Seeing none. Any new business? If there's any new business to come before the committee, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Mr. Whitlow. All in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.